These are 10 unwritten rules that most players break in Apex Legends. Some of you will be doing all 10 of these, while others of you will only be doing a few. Regardless of which one you are, I still see these things being done every day when I'm playing Apex. So let's get into it. Number 1, break off from the jump master. This happens to me all the time when I solo queue. I'll be jump master, I'll ping where I'm going, and my teammate will land right on top of me and begin to loot the same bin or area that I'm looting. This is the most frustrating way to start off a game of Apex, but beyond that, it screws over everyone involved. Let me voice some frustration that we all share really quickly. Do not land on your teammates if there are multiple free buildings or spaces in that POI with no one else going to them. Landing on a teammate and looting the same building or path as them is literally the worst thing you can do as a teammate because it prevents the teammate from getting loot, especially weapons. It keeps your teammate from being able to help you or vice versa. Now, as always, there's some exceptions to this rule, such as other teams landing on close buildings or around you, but for the most part, this is something that you should almost never do. If you happen to be AFK while your team lands, simply just run to another building or take another loot path that your teammates aren't using. The jump master doesn't have the ability to break off from teammates. It works the other way around. So if you're not jump master, break off from them and land close if you're contested, but not directly on top of your teammates. Number 2, if your teammate gets the kill on an opponent, they have first dibs on that loot. Don't run over to your teammates' kills and start gobbling up all of the loot. I'm not saying you're not entitled to any of it, but as a general principle, they should be able to loot it first as they did the most damage. If you did the majority of the damage though, it's obviously implied that you're entitled to that loot. If your teammate who got the kills doesn't seem interested in that box, then obviously it's fair game. But we've all had that random octane teammate who just always seems to be where the loot is and they love to snatch up everything regardless of how much damage they actually did in that previous fight. This may seem like it's a minor thing, but it can really irk some players because as we know, having enough loot is how you sustain multiple battles in any BR game. And this can also seriously screw over your teammates. Number 3, don't leave the match right away, especially if your teammates are right on the verge of clutching that fight. Look, I get it. You go down and you just want to load up the next game, or you get knocked and your teammates are nowhere to be found. Specifically, if you go down and your teammates are fighting, you should wait to see if they clutch up. Give them the benefit of the doubt and be a good teammate. Because if they clutch up, they obviously will come to revive you and you guys get to continue playing that match. This happens all the time while I solo queue. Teammate gets knocked. Me and my teammate are close to them. We're fighting and we're clutching the fight. And the person who got knocked is already long gone. This is a terrible habit to get into overall and just a lame move. And also for everyone who's fixated with their stats, this will seriously tank your average damage, your win rate, and your kill death ratio, so it's probably not the best habit to get into. Number 4, don't waste utilities, things such as ammo, heals, and abilities. On my last video around this kind of stuff, I said to make sure you're using your abilities enough. But with most things in Apex, some people will take this too far. You have to be mindful moment to moment about when to be using your Legends abilities, while not trying to waste them. Good players will look to take advantage of you burning one of your precious abilities in the wrong manner or at the wrong time. I can't give a blanket tip on this one because every legend is unique, but what I can say is if you think it's the right time, follow your gut and use it. But also if your teammates are calling for your ability to be used, you probably want to listen to them. It doesn't end with abilities though. Ammo and heals are another thing I see being wasted far too often. A simple example would be when you're engaging in a fight that realistically isn't a good fight for your team, then you need to not entertain it. Let's say you're getting sniped at, your team doesn't have a similar weapon to compete at that range, so you keep peeking and wasting ammo and your shields? Well, that's not really going to yield you great results. Number 5, don't hoard all of the shield batteries. See, batteries are the most valuable heal in the whole game, and they play a huge role in how a fight shakes out. Some people don't understand that if your teammates don't have any batteries, it's almost as much of a liability if you don't have any yourself. Look, if your teammate doesn't have the capacity to provide presence and deal damage because they're stuck slow healing on purple or red armor, then all of that adds up to time that ultimately winds up being on the enemy's side and not yours. If they are able to quickly return into the fight by popping a shield battery, then it will certainly help your team's chances of winning that fight. So a good rule of thumb is if it's early game and I have more than 2 shield batteries, I check if my teammates need any. Later on in the game, if I have more than 4, then any other bats, I ping for them. And if they don't need them, I obviously carry as much as I can, but I gotta make sure my teammates are taken care of too. Number 6, don't instantly mute your teammates without any reason. This can be a huge problem in ranked or just solo queue in general. I would suggest giving each of your random teammates a chance every game. Of course, if they say some toxic remark, then mute them. But just instantly muting everyone, every game, could seriously hurt your chances of success while solo queuing. Some players may be using their mic to make valid callouts during the game, and if you have them muted, this will result in you knowing less about what's going on. And if you end up muting pings on top of that, you're really losing an advantage. I've solo queued thousands and thousands of games in Apex, and I do understand how tiring it can be to deal with randoms who start to become toxic on the mic, but I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt every match I get into. Another thing regarding microphones in game is don't have an open mic on with a ton of background noise coming through it. There's some people who are listening to TikTok or music while playing, and that's just a huge distraction to your teammates if it's going through the game chat. If you run open mic, just be mindful of this because it will result in teammates muting you. On the topic of communication, let's talk about number 7. Start learning to use all of the different types of pings in Apex. Now, of course, using your mic to communicate provides way more info than any ping could. But if you don't have a mic or you don't like to speak, I would start to learn all of the different pings Apex has to offer. Some of you are thinking, well, yeah, this is an obvious one. I'm going here or enemy there. But rarely do I see players use all of the pings, such as I'm attacking here, I'm defending here, or enemies have been there. Even when I use these pings, my teammates seem not to be familiar with them, so they aren't as responsive to these pings as they are compared to the general enemy here or let's go there ping. Learning to utilize all of these pings can really help out the team if they end up being followed as a team, particularly while you're solo queuing though. This will provide a bit more clarity around the nuanced situations you'll find yourself in a game of Apex. Number 8, do not solo launch in ranked. I can't believe this actually needs to be said, but constantly I witness this in my ranked matches when I'm solo queuing, and when I see other content creators post these ridiculous solo launches that their random teammates try to do. For some reason, some random teammates decide that it's a great idea to solo launch into a hut drop. I don't know why they do this, and I know most of you probably don't do this, but I still have to talk about it briefly, because every season I still see this. And obviously it's a terrible thing to do, especially in a ranked match when there's a point system and it's really unforgiving to have a bad drop. I'm not sure why people think they will be more successful in trying this, but I have to assume they just don't care about their rank or ranked in general. But yeah, can we not do this anymore? That would be great. The only times I've solo launched is basically when I deviate off from a crazy hut drop that my 2 random teammates try to bring us into, and it makes no sense for us to come out alive. Like, there's just no way we're gonna live off this 17 pile up at Stormcatcher. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna go there, and I'm just gonna try to preserve my life. Number 9, don't run off without your teammates close to you. This one is something we all see in our games, whether it's pubs or ranked. And I know, it's a fairly obvious rule, but we still see it. So the simple solution is just be mindful of where your teammates are at when you begin to engage with an enemy team. Far too often, a teammate will run off way ahead of the pack, get knocked, and either just spam ping enemies or instantly leave the match. What's weird though is they are usually playing that one legend Wraith, and they have TTV in their name. I guess it's just a coincidence. Well, anyways, like it or not, Apex is truly a team game at its core. If you fight together with your teammates, your chances of success skyrocket. Number 10, don't focus so much on thirsting opponents unless you absolutely need their armor swap or they are going to potentially crawl back to safety and get revived. You will notice a lot of higher elo players will generally get a knock, but if that person's teammate is closer, they will not focus on thirsting that down. They know they don't want to get caught out while reloading or just simply not looking at the actual enemy who has a gun pointed at them. Newer players tend to tunnel vision on the knocked opponent, sometimes regardless if it was even their team's kill or not. This oversight will wind up getting you killed in Apex because if you waste ammo on a down for no real reason, that guy's remaining teammates could get the jump on you as a result of that. So be mindful of this, and when you go to thirst an enemy, assess, am I doing this to get the armor swap? Am I doing this to prevent them resetting the fight? Or am I just doing it for the heck of it? If you found this video helpful and you're interested in 7 of the biggest mistakes every Apex player makes, well, I covered it all in this video here. Check it out next. Peace.